show. They said it is really cool to have you back here. I mean, it's been almost like what, like I think a year, right? A year and something.
Probably about a year. Yeah.
I think the last time I interview was, yeah, like around October, something like that. I remember.
Yeah, it was a while ago. It's went fast a year, but yeah, no, it's. Well, thanks for having me back on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for accepting in. Well, for today, we will be talking about your most recent film, which I watched it. I mean, it's really cool. We will be talking about a lot about spoilers. So if you haven't watched the film, I'm gonna leave the description below so you can check it out and then come to this video. If you just want to watch it and knowing the spoilers, I mean, that's fine. But yeah, let's dig in. So
let's do it.
So yeah, I watched it twice, and
okay,
it's really cool. Yeah, it's a really cool film, but tell me about your character, because I mean your character was I mean, we can see like this transition, right, from being a real dick to actually being, you know, kind of moving on to that like
a human being.
Yeah, like a human being. Yeah, but like tell me, like, how do you prepare that character? Like, how was that? Like, how was for you? Like when you were like in the process of creating it, how was it?
Well, to be honest with you, I've actually had to answer this question a lot.
Okay.
Initially, the project was brought to me about 6 years ago by the director and creator, Mark David. I had just come off of a project with him, another dark comedy called Johnny's Sweet Revenge, which is a kind of a, you know, again, quirky dark comedy, kind of like edgy, yeah, but, you know, not quite as severe as StarF in its own right. They had their own sort of like, you know, understandings. But so Mark is known to make some crazy films. He approached me with this project and he said, listen, I got this project. We were at the rap party for Johnny's Sweet Revenge, and yeah, you know, we were out by the pool, and I remember him saying, I got this project that I wrote 10 years ago. And the initial title was called In the Land of Milk and Honey. It actually wasn't called StarF.
Okay.
And he goes, I wrote this script. It could be a series or film about this guy, Jimmy Star, and following the journey of this actor in Hollywood, and watching kind of like the trials and tribulations of his life and kind of this dark spiral of his career and life, kind of like taking this nosedive because of, you know, the sort of life that a lot of actors live out here and the sort of like, you know, the paths they may follow or do whatever they have to do to make it. So, you know, it's really tough to make a film about Hollywood and not get criticized and or almost like blackballed, because when you start making fun of Hollywood, which they don't like to really show too often, you know, the weird and real rawness underbelly of Hollywood, they kind of refrain against. So when he brought this up to me, he told me, I got the character Jimmy Star. He's you. And at first I'm like, okay, well, who is he? And he said, okay, well, hear me out here. And he started describing Jimmy Star, telling me he's this narcissistic, sort of sociopathic, sort of sex addict with ADD, BDP, and all this, you know, sex addiction. And I said, wait a second, well, I said, back up. He reminds me of him? I remind you of him or me or whatever? Yeah. Like, you think I'm the same person as this guy? And he goes, okay, well, not entirely, but you are him, trust me, because I've been working with you for years. I've been trying to find a way of making this project and find the right actor that could portray this character and bring it to life. And I said, dude, there's no way in the world I'm playing this role. I was like, dude, I'm not never working in Hollywood again. I'm not making fun of Hollywood to that degree and playing this character. I was like, there's no way. And he goes, dude, we've got to make this movie one day. And I was like, yeah, well, one day. So we kind of, you know, every so often we had a couple more projects and it would get brought up. He goes, man, I really think I can raise the funds for this. I think it's the time to do it. So this was in 2017. And I finally said, you know what? I figured a way. I started seeing what he meant, not in the narcissistic way, not in the, I mean, every actor, every musician, anyone in entertainment has that. There's a bit of narcissism that kind of follows along with that in general. I mean, not to say that we're narcissistic people, but you have to have a certain sort of ego or confidence or belief in yourself in like the first person's perspective in order to even succeed in this cutthroat business. I don't care who you are. It's just the truth. So I related to Jimmy in multiple ways. I mean, I've been in LA for over 21 years now, and a lot of what Jimmy went through, I've been through. I mean, some of the stuff, no, but some of the severities, if not more, I've experienced tenfold. So what we showed really was true to form of life. It wasn't really. It was exaggerated for the comedy perspective of it, but the dramatized, sincerity to the character was real. So the preparation for the character really wasn't preparation. It really was just utilizing my experiences in Hollywood and breaking that down to format it for a film for an audience to relate. If you know what I mean. There wasn't really any prep. I mean, half the time I don't even remember looking at the script. I remember I understood what the perspective was, in the scene, where I was headed towards.
Yeah.
But I didn't spend a whole lot of time on breaking Jimmy down. I just lived Jimmy. And what you see is really what was done. A lot of just living it. I don't believe in overly preparing for roles. I think that you've got to understand, you research the understanding and the perspectives of things that you haven't experienced to kind of elaborate on it. Yeah. But I didn't really prepare for Jimmy. I just played me through Jimmy through me.
Cool. Okay.
So I wouldn't say a lot of people are like, are you Jimmy? I think that Jimmy is more. I think Jimmy's actually more composed than I am. I'm more aggressive. I actually attack the situations more than lay back and observe. He's more of an observer, where I'm a person that understands the topic and just goes for it. I don't wait around really. Jimmy kind of waits to see, kind of like eyeballs the scenarios. Where and maybe that's because I've had those 21 years in Hollywood where I just don't wait anymore. Where Jimmy's still kind of like where I used to be.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I say there's 50-50 Erik and Jimmy of being similar.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we can see like a lot of Hollywood references, even with this character that totally. I mean, when I first watched it, was like, this is a total reference of Harvey Weinstein, like totally.
Oh, 100%.
100%. I was like, yeah, this is a total reference, like on the spot.
You know, again, originally the thing was written, before completion and coming out. That thing was written back in 2007.
Oh.
The original script. Now, a lot of things changed because we shot this movie 3 times. So originally, what people don't really know is that we started in 2017. Me Too movement happened. We ran out of money. It was more originally of a slapstick comedy. It wasn't as dark, and it wasn't as sort of like conflicted. It was more just slapstick, sort of making fun of the humor of Hollywood and this character.
Okay.
Which changed over time. So Me Too happened. We just shelved the movie because there's no way we're gonna sell this movie. It's impossible at this moment. So we shelved it for almost 3.5 years. So that's why it took so long to come out from the conception of it, of starting to release date. There was multiple reasons of why. And after about 3 years, we had an investor come in, saw what we had shot, about 70% of what was edited, loved the idea of what we did, but wanted to raise the stakes and give more of a conflict and make it more of a darker twist, spirally turn for Jimmy, and also give him this sort of like, redeemable understanding in the end. Because Jimmy initially wasn't really redeemable from how, on a slapstick comedy perspective. You know what I mean? There wasn't really anything to really make Jimmy that likable. That was the one thing that worried me, was how can I make this character likable with how it was written and portraying him, and people observing this as an audience. You always got to play a character to a certain degree to win the audience, no matter if you're murdering someone or if you're doing bad deeds. You still have to find that charisma and charm to still win over the audience, because when the audience doesn't like you, you don't have a movie or a series. They can hate your character if they want, but they can find something that keeps them coming back.
Totally.
So that was one of the biggest conflicts in my head I had playing Jimmy. But yeah, there was it took 5 years because of what had happened in, politically, our world, the pandemic, So it took a while. So, you know, I'm very happy that we finally got it out there, and it's still moving. You know, it's going to be coming on more platforms soon.
That's cool.
We're excited about that because it's on Tubi now, and then Tubi in Mexico, Tubi in Australia, Tubi in the US and Canada, and then Amazon or Prime Video in the US, and then Amazon UK, and now Xumo TV just picked it up, so it'll be coming out on that soon. We're still working out different platforms, but we're happy with the response so far, man. It's, you know, we were very scared, we weren't sure.
During the process of this film, like, how did you manage to touch, as you mentioned, like some of the topics here, but to make them funny? Like, how you managed to do that? Because I mean, it must have been like super hard, right? Whenever you were saying, like, okay, maybe we're crossing the line or not. Like...
Well, there's a lot of stuff that didn't make it to the film. Trust me, man.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, and again, things had changed in over those 5 years.
Totally.
Politically, things had changed, but a lot of the references were made early on, and it was like before its time. You know what I mean? You know, there's a Donald Trump reference, a Kardashian reference that we had filmed that scene 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
That scene wasn't even part of the movie. I mean, was already part of the movie. So what we came back to reshoot was about 40-50% of the film, but we already had segregated certain scenes that were going to make it into the film regardless. So when we went back to reshoot, we reshot about 50% of the movie and sort of changed a little bit of the journey and the perspective of Jimmy, but more to give it more of a conflict of, you know, what he goes through. But how we made it funny, really talented actors, trusting one another, and editing.
Oh yeah.
Tone, music, beats, you know, the punchlines. Dark comedy is tough too, because dark comedy is very subtle. You know what I mean? There's not like a laugh track or a punchline point. You know, you have to deliver it in ways almost naturally, like you're having a conversation.
Absolutely.
And that's what's funny about it. It's when you take it too serious. It's not like a sitcom or, you know, sort of like a Will Ferrell comedy where the stakes are raised so high. You know, comedy stems from drama. So like, you know, when you try to make something funnier, you scream really loud about it to make it funny. Well, in dark comedy, it's not that. That's not the direction you take it in. You gotta hope and pray that line comes out in a way that's in a subtle way where it's natural enough to get people to laugh. It's really difficult to make a dark comedy where people are like taking it serious but laughing at the same time. It's very tricky. So to be honest with you, it's a miracle. I don't know. I just know that everyone that was a part of it is really talented and everyone did a great job. I don't feel like there was any weak point performance in the film. I mean, everyone from a smaller part to, you know, leading all the way up, I thought everybody really capitalized really well, and Mark did a great job with the direction on it. And then, you know, when we did rewrites, everybody that was involved did a great job. And then Mark with the editing. I mean, it took a long time to get it to where it is. And we had to be very particular before we put it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Okay. Yeah. And like moving on here to the film, actually there's a moment, like I would say probably like at the beginning or passing the beginning, that is kind of foreshadowing the ending, right?
Right.
Whenever they say like you should fake your death, and then later on you realize that he actually faked his death, and you're like, okay. But like my question here would be like, because there's like one particular scene that I was like questioning, like didn't quite understand, like the part when whenever they are gonna shoot the scene with the wheelchair, you know, and Jimmy is tied up, then they start recording, then Jimmy gets like what's the word of it, like electrocuted, right?
Yeah.
And goes straight to the ground. Like my point here was like, so in that moment he found like redemption, or like what?
Well, that moment was like it hit Jimmy. That was his lowest point. And that's when he looked into the camera and says, this wasn't supposed to happen. You know, on his, you know, from the beginning of the film, he said, you know, I was born James Rupertson. Yeah. That's a terrible name, but tonight I'm Jimmy Star. Jimmy had one path to do whatever it takes to make it, you know, and he took advantage of everyone that he could. Also, his goal was to get back Fiona, his ex fiance, because I don't want to give too much away, but people haven't seen it, but So the redemption that Jimmy wasn't even worried about, if you notice throughout the film, Jimmy was in a tunnel vision of what he wanted to do. The only person that he really felt any empathy for was his brother.
Yeah.
During that process. So that moment was a reflection on, I've hit rock bottom. This wasn't supposed to happen. And everyone turning against them. And that was the whole sort of like understanding of the chessboard from beginning to end, and Jimmy breaking the fourth wall and playing people like chess pieces as he was in the movie, sort of like the alter ego of Jimmy. And if you notice, they all turn on him in the end, and they all suffocate him. So it was a reflection, for the audience to see that Jimmy has hit so low that it took to the point of like Wally paying him back for treating him the way he did. And everyone being kind of part of it at that point, and him kind of like taking advantage of everyone. So without getting too much away, that was the turning point of the downward, and that's caused the downward spiral from there. And gives Jimmy two options to make, decide if he's going to be a better person or not. So that was the point, the pinnacle point, I think, for Jimmy, where he realized that his path he took wasn't necessarily the right path, obviously. Yeah. And he basically lost everything at that point. Everything he wanted, he tried to get, that he was gaining, he lost everything. Everyone turned on him. And it's more of a lesson to be taught in life. Sometimes when you're a little too greedy and you think that taking that one extra little thing is the right thing to do, maybe it's not. And that's what that monologue that he says when he's on the chessboard after all that, saying, what does all this add up to? Taking advantage of people, and I guess it wasn't worth it. Yeah. So that was the turning point. The beginning of the movie originally it actually didn't start like that. Two of the actors that are part of the movie, I played my brother, and actually another friend of mine said, you know what? I still don't know if I feel enough for Jimmy watching it, starting him out on Hollywood Boulevard, saying, tonight, I'm Jimmy Star, and going right into it. There's no empathy for this character unless you give a possible conflict at the beginning of it, and go almost like showing what it led him up to, not telling the audience what has happened, bringing them through the journey to bring them back to that point to say, oh, I see how that happened. So originally that wasn't there. It was last second. It was like a month before we delivered the movie that we threw in the beginning like that, and it actually saved the movie. Wow. Because it's a big difference when you start out with this cockiness, and you don't start feeling for Jimmy until a bit of a way into the movie. But when you give an audience a perspective of going, wait a minute, what happened to him? Oh my God, what did he do to deserve to die? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And then you get a lot more emotion from the audience of going, they don't dislike Jimmy so much because you see that he actually struggled with lots of problems, from the childhood. You could see he didn't have a good upbringing. That's not necessarily always the excuse, but when you watch that perspective, you can see he didn't really have anyone besides his brother who cared for him, but he didn't really have anyone, or he thought he didn't have anyone. Yeah. So that's kind of crazy. Like a lot of things changed, man, throughout so many different edits. And we finally just said, you know what? It's time. We got to put it out. It needs to come out. And luckily enough, from the release, and again, it's still branching out to different territories, but the release so far has been really, really well received. I was pleasantly surprised. Yeah. As I said, I mean, it's a brilliant film. I mean, it touches a lot of topics here, but in a different way. The story, it's as I was saying, it's amazing. I love it. I mean, I appreciate that. It's funny because like at the first, when you meet Jimmy, you're like, yeah, I mean, at least to me, at first I was like, what is wrong with this guy? Like he's like basically treating everybody as a tool, just using here, and things like that. But then like later on, after like the whole wheelchair scene and everything, then you start. I mean, before that, you start to kind of understand a little bit, like, okay, he's acting like that because this and this happened. I mean, even though that he was all cocky, I mean, he still
couldn't let go the relation he had with his ex, and also the fact that he was going to shoot a film and a scene with her. I mean, you know, like all of that stuff, and you're like, okay, I can relate to that. And but more like to the end, you get the chance to kind of see like the real one, right? Like instead of Jimmy, you see James now, which I think it was really it was brilliant there.
Yeah, no, I thought it was well capitalized from, you know, how Mark took the direction of even, you know, the last quarter of the film.
Yeah.
But also we wanted to show, I mean, also Jimmy, as much as Jimmy was, you know, capitalizing on all the people and taking advantage of situations, they were actually taking advantage of Jimmy.
Totally. Yeah.
If you notice what was happening to him in the movie. So Jimmy, it's a saddened understanding to know you put yourself into those predicaments to get a job.
Yeah.
And these are true stories, man. I mean, this is stuff that really does happen. It's not, you know, and you know, the whole character of Weinstein, or, you know, unfortunately, Clement had passed away after we shot the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
And actually, a good friend of ours, Jason Turnage, who wore in the when we're shooting the movie, was wearing the pink shorts with no shirt and holding the gaffer.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was a Star Wars reference, because he actually passed away as well not that long ago.
Oh man.
So I have to send love out to both of them and their families and stuff. But yeah, the Weinstein understanding, Weintraub was written, the character was written in, you know, 2007.
Yeah.
I mean, Weinstein was around, but of course it was based on a sort of character like that. It's just interesting how it developed over the years, and then this movie, and everyone's like, yo, it's the Weinstein character,
right?
In a sort of way.
Mm.
But yeah, Jimmy was getting it, man. You know, so as much as he was putting out there, people were giving it right back to him, and he was just putting himself on display, really. So it was like a give or take kind of with both sides. You know, we gave the power to the others, where Jimmy really became powerless.
That's true.
So we try to relate as much as we could just to life in general for someone that, you know, relates in things that people, the struggles that people go through. You know, you had a lot of different issues.
Yeah.
And it makes people lash out in different ways sometimes. And I think Jimmy, you know, it was a lesson to be learned for Jimmy. So that's, you know, that's that. I'm just happy that the conversation is where people are enjoying it. Some people aren't gonna like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not everyone's gonna love this film. I didn't ever expect that. We push it might be a little bit too much for people, but we just try to make a film not to take yourself too seriously. I mean, come on, man. We're making jokes on top of jokes that people make every single day. We just made it about Hollywood and sort of that understanding.
Totally. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, at the end, I think, as you mentioned, the fact that Jimmy was just part of the game. You know, in that universe, he was just a part of the game there. So that's true. And
that's really all it is. That's all he was playing the game, and the game played him back harder. And,
absolutely.
And that's what it does to most people. You know, you have to be smarter about these situations. So to watch poor Jimmy, it was interesting. It was really interesting. But I'm very grateful for the opportunity to play it.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you watching it, man. I'm
Yeah.
glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, as I said, it is like one of the cool things. I mean, I've been saying before that whenever I will watch either a film or short film, TV show, whatever, of someone that I interview, it's pretty cool to say, I know that person, you know? It's pretty cool.
Well, we're very grateful for you watching, man.
I love it.
It's, you know, filmmaking is just about creating and putting a character out there. I like to be challenged as much as possible with different characters. So this was just one for the, you know, for the books that was sorry, my phone out for a second.
No, it's okay.
One for the books, and say that I got a chance to play Jimmy Star. So
I love it. And like my last question here is, what do you think Jimmy did after? You know, after meeting the baby and everything, what do you think Jimmy did after?
Well, if you see in the end there, he in slow mo, he's walking with the
baby on.
Yeah. That's a good question. You know, there could be a sequel. I've had people ask for it. I don't know. We could call it StarFuckers. There is a TV show idea that's sort of a layout and synopsis of what we would want to take where we would want to take the show. It all depends. I think Jimmy hopefully has learned his lesson But if you see, you know, when he meets his baby, he goes, "We're gonna fuck Los Angeles." So did Jimmy really learn his lesson? So that's kind of the play there. It's like, do I think Jimmy's going to do it? I think he could run a freaking talent agency for Starfuckers. I have no idea. I think that he himself is not going to do, but I think that he could definitely teach others a lessons to not, or the road not to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So give a little bit of his experience in more of a positive direction instead of, you know, hitting rock bottom. So maybe you can start an agency or a PR company for Starfuckers. I have no idea.
That would be cool. Okay. Yeah.
Well, let's petition for it. We'll
yeah.
see.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it would be cool, like a sequel with a baby, like more grown up, you know, like a sidekick here, you know, things like that. That would be
100%. Yeah, no,
cool.
I think that's definitely possible. I would love to do that. Yeah, we've had different ideas.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I have no idea. I guess we'll see how it continues and see where it goes.
I love it. I mean, at the end, what can I say, man? I mean, the film is really cool. I love it. I mean, I suggest everyone who's watching this right now or listening to it later on, you should definitely check on this film like right now, because it is cool. It is totally. I mean, at least to me, it is totally different from the type of film that I usually watch. But I did enjoy it. It was really cool. And also, I want to thank you also so much for making this happen. I mean, you have been, you were basically when I was just recently started, you know, and struggling with you know, with the editing here or with the sound or things like that. So the fact that you have been supporting this my platform also since I was recently started, I mean, it's really cool from you, man, and I just can't wait for more of your awesomeness and more of your epic projects come to the future, because as I said, you're really creating something really cool, and this film show us also how much passion you put to the craft to it, and I think that's inspiring enough, you know, and that is that's really cool. I mean congratulations for a really, really cool film.
I appreciate that. I mean, look, it's, you know, it's one thing to go out there and, you know, aspire to make these projects and give it all you got. It's another thing to take these huge risks sometimes, and totally. I'm just happy that I did. But I mean, my whole thing is, if I could give advice to myself or anyone else, is like, don't be always so scared to take that extra step to do something a little different. You know, I've been in this business for a long time, and always worried about what people are going to think or this or that, the other. Sometimes you just got to trust your gut and just go with it. And that's what I did, and that's what I do from here on out. So yeah, I'm grateful for anybody who's always, you know, supported me and stuff like that. And on your side as well. And thank you for saying all the kind things that you did, and watching Starfucker and enjoying it and seeing what we were trying to achieve with it. You know what I mean? We weren't just trying to make a movie just to make a movie. We actually were trying to get point of views across and perspectives, and like a movie that can make you laugh but also make you sad, and make you see a perspective. So yeah, man, thank you for bringing me back on, and I appreciate it all.
Yeah, I mean, also I want to thank those who are watching this right now. As I was saying, make sure to watch this film like right now. I'm gonna leave the link here in the description so you can check it out. Also with the social media of Erik, so you can follow him right now. I mean, let's make him viral. # Team Erik. He's awesome. And again, man, thank you so much. Keep killing it, keep being awesome, and I'll be definitely seeing you on the next project.
Awesome, man. Thank you, buddy. Take care.
All right, here we go.